Well students, today we are going to discuss the concept of elasticity of demand, because this was the demand for long time by the students to have a vivid view or classification of the concept of elasticity of demand. So today, first of all, before discussing the concept of elasticity of demand, we will focus on the meaning of the term elasticity. So the term elasticity refers to the rate of change or the magnitude of change or the percentage change or the proportionate change or the degree of responsiveness. So the term elasticity of demand refers to the degree of responsiveness of quantity demanded in response to either a change in its price alone or the change in the income of the households or the change in prices of related goods. Now you must remember here कि हमने यहाँ पे क्या बताया कि जब एक कमोडिटी का डिमांड उसके प्राइस में परिवर्तन होने पर या हाउसहोल्ड्स के इनकम में परिवर्तन होने पर या फिर उनके रिलेटेड गुड्स के कीमतों में परिवर्तन होने पर जिस प्रोपोर्शन में या जिस अनुपात में डिमांड में परिवर्तन होगा उसे हम elasticity of demand कहते हैं. Or you can say in this manner also that it refers to the proportionate change in quantity demanded or the percentage change in quantity demanded brought about by either a percentage change in its price or the change in price of related goods or change in income of the households. So based upon this, the concept of elasticity of demand can be vividly classified into price elasticity of demand, cross elasticity of demand and income elasticity of demand. So see here, one thing which you must remember is price elasticity of demand is related to the change in price of the commodity alone, whereas cross elasticity is related to the changes in price of related goods, which may be either a substitute good or a complementary good. Whereas income elasticity relates to the change in income of the households. Now you must remember that what is price elasticity of demand? Price elasticity of demand refers to the percentage change in quantity demanded brought about by a percentage change in price of the commodity. What does it mean? Say for example, the price of onion increases by 10% and as a result its demand falls by 20%. So percentage change in quantity demanded divided by percentage change in price will give you price elasticity of demand. That is 20 divided by 10 is equal to 2. That means here the demand for the said commodity is elastic. Elastic means a small change in price brings about a significant change in demand for the product. So let us take up the first topic, price elasticity of demand. So price elasticity of demand, as I have discussed just now, that price elasticity of demand refers to the percentage change in quantity demanded brought about by a percentage change in price. Suppose the price of a commodity rises by 10% and as a result its demand reduces by 50%. So you see that price elasticity of demand is equal to minus percentage change in quantity demanded divided by percentage change in price. So in the given question we find that the percentage change in quantity demanded is 50% and whereas percentage change in price is 10%. So 50 divided by 10 is equal to how much? 5. So that is the price elasticity of demand for the said commodity. Now it can also be defined as the degree of responsiveness of quantity demanded in response to a given change in price alone. यानी प्राइस में परिवर्तन होने पर जिस प्रपोर्शन में या जो परसेंटेज चेंज डिमांड में होता है या जिस प्रपोर्शन में डिमांड रिस्पॉन्ड करता है प्राइस में परिवर्तन होने पर उसे हम लोग प्राइस इलास्टिसिटी ऑफ डिमांड कहते हैं. नाउ यू मस्ट रिमेंबर that price elasticity of demand is always negative because of the inverse relationship that exists between price and quantity demanded. See, but for the sake of simplicity, what we do, we ignore the negative sign and take only the positive absolute numerical value because we are interested with the direction of change, we are interested with the magnitude of change and not the direction of change. Therefore, this sign is ignored. Now, how percentage change in quantity demand is calculated? That is equal to delta Q by Q into 100, where delta Q represents change in quantity demanded and Q represents initial quantity demanded. Expressed in percentage gives you percentage change in quantity demanded, whereas percentage change in price is equal to delta P by P into 100, where delta P represents change in price, P represents initial price. When the same is expressed in percentage, we get percentage change in price. So this can be rewritten as minus delta Q by Q into P by delta P, and that can be again rewritten as delta Q by delta P into P by Q, where delta Q is change in quantity demanded, delta P is change in price, where P is initial price and Q is initial quantity demanded. Now let us take up a small illustration here. Suppose, now to explain the same, we have taken a hypothetical example here. See, we have taken here that the demand for onion reduces from 100 units to 80 units as a result of rise in its price by rupee 1. If the initial price be rupees 2, find price elasticity of demand. So here the initial price means the price prevailing in the market before change, that is P, is given to be rupees 2. So here we have written rupees 2. Change in price is given here, that the price has increased by rupee 1, so the change in price is how much? Rupee 1. Initial quantity demanded is 100 units. Okay, so here we have written 100 units, and change in quantity demanded is equal to new quantity demanded minus initial quantity demanded. So 80 is the new quantity demanded and the initial quantity demanded was 100 units. So the change in quantity demanded is minus 20. So EP is equal to minus delta Q by delta P into P by Q is equal to minus 20 divided by change in price, that is 1, into initial price rupees 2 by initial quantity 100, that is equal to how much? 0.4. That means here the elasticity of demand is less than 1. So now price elasticity of demand can be of 5 kinds. Number 1, perfectly inelastic demand. Number 2, inelastic demand. Number 3, unitary elastic demand. Number 4, elastic demand. And number 5, perfectly elastic demand. Start to So we are coming to kinds of price elasticity of demand. Number 1 is perfectly inelastic demand. when the demand for a commodity does not change at all or does not respond at all in response to a given change in price, it is called perfectly inelastic demand. That means, say we are taking the example of salt. If the price of salt falls, it is not necessary that with the fall in price we will purchase higher quantities of salt. That means the demand for salt will not respond to the change in price. So we can say that its demand is perfectly inelastic. So in this case, price elasticity of demand will be equal to 0. Why? Because in the given diagram you find that when the price rises from OP to OP1 or falls from OP to OP2, the quantity demanded does not respond to the change in price. So it is said to be perfectly inelastic demand, and the demand curve will be vertical to x-axis as shown in the given diagram. We have taken a demand schedule for salt. See here, when the price of salt increases from rupees 2 to rupees 3, we find that the demand for salt does not change in response to the change in price. That is, it remains 2. At price 2, quantity demanded was 2 kgs. When the price increased to rupees 3, then also we find that the quantity demanded is 2. So here elasticity of demand is equal to change in quantity demanded by change in price into initial price by initial quantity. So here change in quantity demanded is how much? 2 minus 2, that is 0. By change in price, that is 3 minus 2, rupee 1 into initial price rupees 2 divided by initial quantity 2 kgs. So 0 divided by any number is equal to 0. So it has a perfectly inelastic demand. So now we are coming to the second point, that is inelastic demand. Remember, inelastic demand is also called less than unitary elastic demand. Unitary means 1, less than unitary means elasticity of demand less than 1. When the demand for a commodity changes by a small proportion in response to a given change in its price, it is called inelastic demand. यानी जब प्राइस में परिवर्तन होता है और उसके कारण डिमांड जो है उसके तुलना में कम प्रोपोर्शन में चेंज करता है, तब उसे हम लोग क्या कहते हैं? इनइलास्टिक डिमांड. So you need to remember that in this case elasticity of demand will be less than 1 and the demand curve will be steeper. See here, when the price falls from OP to OP1, the demand increases by from OQ to OQ1. But you find here that the change in quantity demand is much less than the change in price. So therefore, the demand curve is steeper and elasticity of demand is less than 1. For example, sugar. Say in a family, a monthly requirement of sugar is 5 kgs. Now when its price was rupees 20, a household used to purchase 5 kgs of sugar. Now when its price rises from rupees 20 to rupees 30, you find that its demand reduces from 5 kgs to 4 kgs. But the relative change in quantity demanded brought about by the change in price is insignificant. Insignificant means it changes by a very small proportion in response to a given change in price. See here, EP is equal to delta Q by delta P into P by Q. Change in quantity demanded is how much? 5 minus 4, that is 1. By change in price, 30 minus 20, that is 10. Into initial price is how much? 20. By initial quantity, 5. So that gives you how much? 0.4. 0.4 means it is less than 1. So that means what? That the demand for the said commodity is inelastic. Now we will be moving on to the third point, that is unitary elastic demand. Now we are discussing unitary elastic demand. Unitary means one. Unitary elastic demand means elasticity of demand equal to 1. So when elasticity of demand will be equal to 1? When percentage change in quantity demanded is equal to the percentage change in price. Or you can say that when the demand for a commodity changes by a same proportion in response to a given change in price, it is called unitary elastic demand. Say for example, the price of a commodity rises by 10% and as a result its demand reduces by 10%. In that case, price elasticity of demand will be equal to percentage change in quantity demanded divided by percentage change in price, that is 10 divided by 10 is equal to 1. Here we have taken an example of cloth. Price of cloth in meters is given to be rupees 200. At rupees 200, a household purchases 10 meters of cloth. Now when its price rises from rupees 200 to rupees 300, its demand reduces from 10 meters to 5 meters. So you find here that change in quantity demanded is 10 minus 5, that is 5. By change in price, that is 300 minus 200, that is 100. And the initial price is 200 divided by initial quantity 10. So 1000 divided by 1000 is equal to 1. So remember one thing here, that elasticity of demand will be equal to 1 only when the percentage change in quantity demanded is equal to the percentage change in price. In that case, the demand curve will take the shape of a rectangular hyperbola. Here we find that when the price falls from OP to OP1, quantity demanded increases from OQ to OQ1. And this change are same here. That means the magnitude of change in quantity demanded is equal to the magnitude of change in price. So therefore, EP is equal to 1. So let us discuss the next point, that is elastic demand. Elastic demand is also called more than unitary elastic demand. More than unitary means more than 1. So when the demand for a commodity changes by a significant proportion in response to a small change in its price, it is called elastic demand. That means when the price changes by a small proportion and as a result the demand changes by a significant proportion in response to the change in price, it is called elastic demand. Say for example, we are taking demand for petrol. See, when the price of petrol is rupees 50 per liter, a household purchases 100 liters of petrol. Now when price rises from rupees 50 to rupees 60 per liter, we find that its demand reduces by a significant proportion, that is 70. So here price elasticity of demand is equal to change in quantity demanded by change in price into initial price by initial quantity. So change in quantity demanded is 100 minus 70, that is 30. Change in price is 60 minus 50, that is 10. By initial price rupees 50 divided by initial quantity 100, that is equal to 1.5, which is greater than 1. So here we find that when the price falls from OP to OP1, the quantity demanded increases from OQ to OQ1. See, the demand changes by a significant proportion in response to the small change in price. So the demand is elastic and the demand curve is flatter. So this is what elastic demand is. Now the last point which we are going to discuss is perfectly elastic demand. Now the last one is perfectly elastic demand. What is perfectly elastic demand? See, when the demand for a commodity may increase or decrease to any extent at the same price. एक ही प्राइस में जब एक कमोडिटी का डिमांड किसी भी प्रोपोर्शन तक इंक्रीज कर सकता है या फिर डिक्रीज कर सकता है, उसे हम लोग क्या कहते हैं, परफेक्टली इलास्टिक डिमांड. See, it is an imaginary concept. There is no such commodity whose demand may vary to any extent at the same price. See, here we have taken a hypothetical example here that at price 2, a household buys 100 units of a particular commodity. At the same price, its demand increases to 120. So naturally, there cannot be any commodity whose quantity may change to any extent at the same price. So in this case, the elasticity of demand will be equal to infinity, that is undefined, and the demand curve will be parallel to x-axis. See, this is the shape of the demand curve, and we find at the same price OP, the demand increases from OQ to OQ1 to OQ2. So see here, EP is equal to delta Q by delta P into P by Q. Change in quantity demanded is 120 minus 100, that is 20, divided by change in price 2 minus 2, that is 0, into initial price 2 by initial quantity 100. So any number divided by 0 is undefined. So this is the concept of perfectly elastic demand.